we yes, but in the real world all the time without worrying about the consequence of that. And when we say but to each other, what we're really saying is everything you just said doesn't really matter. Here's something new for you to think about instead. And that really does not feel great to get yes, but.
This podcast is brought to you by Hey Taco, the only peer-to-peer recognition platform that uses tacos to help teams around the world share gratitude. I'm Doug.
I'm Una.
This is our podcast, Amazing Teams. All right, Jordan, Hirsch, Sarah, Filman, welcome to the Amazing Teams podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, Doug.
Jordan and Sarah, we are going to do something a little bit different today, and we'd love for the two of you to introduce each other in 2 sentences. I know you can probably sing each other's praises and go into the details, so 2 sentences is perfect. And Jordan, I'm going to start with you. Can you introduce Sarah to our listeners, please?
Absolutely. Sarah Filman is a brilliant, empathetic, talented leadership coach, improviser, facilitator, former manager from the tech world. This is still sentence 1, who brings kindness and real playfulness to spaces that she creates for facilitated experiences for leaders to help them grow and build new skills safely. Also, she loves cats, plants, being outside, and sock puppets.
That was a run-on sentence, but we won't.
Oh, I cheated.
We won't
I definitely
count.
cheated.
Sarah, tell us more about Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan Hirsch is a charismatic, effervescent leadership coach, facilitator, improviser, musician, singer, father, husband, dog owner extraordinaire who brings a playful spark to everything he does. He has a fondness for horror movies, sitting by campfires, and sipping whiskey.
Nailed it.
That's a great combination. Well, let's dive straight into the topic of this podcast, which is amazing teams. What do you guys think it takes to build an amazing team in 140 characters or less?
Let's just bounce words back and forth. Trust,
Vulnerability,
honesty,
direction,
support,
listening,
safe risk-taking,
collaboration.
play.
That was masterful. That was awesome. Tell us more about how do the two of you work together? Why are we here together? What brings you, the two of you together as you help people build amazing teams?
Yeah, so Jordan and I, we facilitate improv-based professional development workshops and programs. So what does that mean? We work with teams who want to bring more connection, creativity, collaboration to their teams and are open to a playful, embodied, experiential approach. And I guess maybe I can back up and say, what is improv? Because I used improv in this sentence. You've probably heard of improv in the context of going to like a comedy club or a theater and seeing an ensemble of performers make stuff up without a script, play games or make scenes, make up worlds and characters without a script. Maybe like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is a lot of people's kind of introduction to improv. But the mindset, skills, behaviors that ensemble of performers uses to be able to successfully make stuff up on the fly that looks like it was scripted and do so from a joyful, creative place, we can take those same skills and apply them in off-stage contexts. So that's what Jordan and I do. We work with leaders, teams, organizations who want their ensemble, their team, to work brilliantly together to create something from nothing or to build with things. And we teach them the skills that those improvisers use. And then we hone and customize that depending on the specific goals of those leaders.
And I'll say using improv in this way is not as random as it may sound. I mean, not only is there a whole world out there of what's called applied improvisation, but the tiny leap that we make is that, and that we invite people to kind of make with us, is really just this idea that like no one gets a script at the beginning of the day. The closest we might have is our calendar and our email inbox. And even that is not a guarantee of how your day is going to go. So we are all on a micro level and sometimes on a macro level, dealing with the unexpected, dealing with things that were not scripted all day long. So practicing the skill that improvisers use to do it on stage in front of an audience can really make you more effective and just feel more comfortable and confident. I mean, I have weathered many storms over the years post my improv training, like so much more easily than I would have before. And just with such a sense of like, whatever happens, I will get through it in a way that I didn't used to have.
Yeah. And then Jordan and I as we introed each other, we are also both coaches. We're both leadership coaches. And so we can introduce these concepts, these frameworks of improv. And then what coaching does, that coaching lens can really tailor it to a person and help them move forward in a way that makes sense for them with these new mindsets unlocked, can help them address their challenges. So that kind of accountability structure, we kind of combine those into our offering.
Got it. And can you give our listeners just an idea of the type of leaders that you guys are coaching? You don't have to name names, but, company sizes, industries, some more details.
We've worked with giant pharmaceutical company. We've worked with smaller nonprofits. We don't have a particular sector that we like to work with. It's more, I think, Sarah, jump in if I'm missing anything, but I think it's more for us, the way an organization thinks about the people and about professional development is more kind of how we find our alignment. We call it heart forward. We are looking for heart forward organizations who really care about their people and care about investing in their people in this way, and the type of organization who's open to taking play seriously.
That's a fun sentence, taking play seriously. Jordan, you mentioned applied improvisation. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Yeah. So what we're doing exists in this larger context of there are people out there who do this kind of work in a similar way, but probably not as cool as me and Sarah, obviously. And it's called applied improvisation because basically, like Sarah said, you're taking these skills that improvisers use on stage to construct something together, starting from almost nothing. And you're taking those skills and applying them to life, applying them to work, which is, of course, part of life, applying them to all sorts of off-stage scenarios to make yourself more effective, more resilient, more adaptable, a better communicator, more confident, more connected to people around you. All these things that an improv team has to do relatively quickly to get up to speed to the point where they can actually perform together on stage and create something successfully. It's the same skills that we call on every day in life, but we talk about them for some reason completely differently off stage and on stage. So applied improvisation is trying to kind of bridge that gap.
Oftentimes when I hear the word improv, it feels like maybe my misconception is make stuff up, right? Just go with the flow, make stuff up, which I guess it's part of it, right? But how do you practice going with the flow, right? Again, it's kind of this taking play seriously. How does one practice not being scripted?
We could do that with a game and try it and then talk about it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So this game is called 5 Things. And so we're going to take turns offering each other a category of thing. So your most basic one would be like, name 5 fruits. So like I say, like, Una, name 5 fruits. You're going to one at a time name 5 fruits. And then Jordan, Doug, and I will enthusiastically after each one, we'll be like 1, 2, 3. And then when we get to 5, we're going to be like 5 things. Yay. Like just celebrate you doing 5 things. And then Una, you will be able to give a different category to somebody else. Any
great.
questions? How does that sound?
It sounds great. Pick a category that I know, like
Okay.
no pop culture because I
Yep.
didn't grow up in the country.
Okay.
5
Una.
classic movies from the 80s.
Isolation top.
Yeah, so that's a really great point. We are a little ensemble here. We're going to have each other's back. So before improvisers go on stage, they always pat each other on the back. They say, got your back, which means we're going to try to make each other look brilliant, which means I'm not going to intentionally throw you curveballs to trip you up or make you stumble. Una, what are your 5 favorite taco toppings?
Oh, I love that. Guacamole.
1. So we all say 1.
1. Together.
Yes.
Roasted pineapple.
2,
Sour cream.
3.
Feta cheese.
4,
Pico de gallo.
5.
wings.
All right, so Una, now you can offer a category to anyone else.
Doug. 5 NHL teams.
That I like, that I dislike,
Any.
That
or
you can
that I
name.
know.
That you know.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with my hometown heroes, the Washington Capitals.
1,
Next, let's move on to the Edmonton Oilers,
2,
the Chicago Blackhawks,
3,
the Boston Bruins,
4,
and the Dallas Stars.
5 things. Woo.
Wow, that felt so good.
Right?
Couldn't name one. All right, Doug, you want to pass it on?
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Jordan, 5 types of guitar brands. So original. Couldn't think of anything else.
Types of guitar. God, let's see if I can actually do this. Fender.
1.
Gibson.
2.
Epiphone.
3.
Who makes the Flying V?
4.
And those guitars that are double guitars.
5.
6.
Awesome. Thank you. Sarah, 5 types of plants that are in your house.
Ooh, a Boston fern,
1.
a snake plant,
2.
a aloe plant.
3.
Oh, a green one,
4.
a dead one.
5 things. Woo.
Yay!
Wow. That was amazing.
Oh, that was great. The dead one. My favorite answer.
So you can see like we were practicing trusting kind of the first thing that came to mind and saying it and reaching for it. And you can imagine that even such a seemingly low stakes game with people who are new to each other, or, like even that can be vulnerable to be put on the spot, to need to make things up for other people. But when everybody's chiming in and has your back, and we also encourage people like make up gibberish, right? There were no wrong answers. If I had been given NHL teams, I would have been like the pucks. Like, I don't know. And you all would have still said 1, and so there's just this like connection and support that's built into the activity.
Yeah. We make you look great. We're making people look brilliant just for naming. I mean, I don't know what, like a double guitar is not a brand of guitar. Like technically I got that wrong. And at work, we are incentivized to get the right answer, right? We're supposed to get it right all the time. And this game can be really vulnerable for people whose jobs really require expertise, right? You're supposed to be the expert in the room on something, and suddenly you can't name, like, I can't think of a fruit. So getting through that moment makes it, you start building this muscle both of like resilience in that moment and of supporting each other in that moment, so that when the stakes do go up, when it's a real life situation, you can call on that same kind of skill set together. Like, it's okay. Try something in that meeting. We've got your back. It's going to be okay when you put this new idea out there because we will support you.
Do you often find that there's a lot of laughter in the exercises and when practicing? Because it truly does kind of lead to the saying of, the laughter is the best medicine. I feel like if you can bring a group of people together and everybody is laughing, that can be super powerful and really connect in a deep way.
Absolutely. 100%. And also like the categories can also be used to get to know each other, right? Like 5 places you've always wanted to visit, or 5 things that light you up, 5 reasons you started this awesome podcast. Like you can get to know people and what kind of makes them tick too. So that's another great way to connect.
Yeah, I can see that. It's almost like an icebreaker. Now knowing that you have a dead plant in your apartment or house, I've learned a little bit about you, Sarah.
So for those gardeners and plant enthusiasts out there, a master gardener once told me that the only difference between an amateur and a master gardener is that the master gardener has killed more plants.
You're on your way to being a master
So I'm on my
gardener.
way.
Wow. I love that.
During this activity, I felt like it was a good practice of being able to be on the spot in the future. It's kind of like public speaking. You can't really just get on the stage and hope it works out. You practice in front of your mirror, you practice in the gym, you practice with your friends, you practice at work. This felt like practice to be able to improvise, right? Even being spontaneous takes some practice if that's not natural to you. It's, making the time to be spontaneous, making the time to practice this and have a silence of 2 seconds, right? Before you think of the next thing.
It makes sense.
I was just going to say an analogy I often come back to, and when people ask, like, well, how do you practice something that you make up? Like a sports team will go out and they run drills and they play, practice games so that in the moment there's structure of the game, but they don't know how it's going to go. Like they're just calling on those skills to kind of make up what happens in the moment.
Practice is key, right? I sometimes practice in the car and I think to myself, wow, if anybody sees me, they're going to think that I'm crazy sitting in there talking to myself. And sure enough, yesterday on my way to work, walking in along the water, I saw this gentleman who I think may be living in a tent somewhere, having a conversation with no one. And I just said to myself, he's practicing.
Doug, what do you practice?
I think I say things to myself that I want to believe. I think that's what it is. So there's what I believe in life, and then there's things I want to believe in life. And so what I do is and maybe I'm revealing a little bit of my crazy side, but I literally say sentences that I'm kind of like, yeah, that's what I want to believe.
Like saying affirmations to yourself, I think, has been around for probably a couple hundred years at this point as like a tried and true self-development tool.
Okay.
You're not the only one out there telling themselves things that they would like to believe.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Jordan. I feel better already.
From a coaching lens, our thoughts impact our feelings, and our feelings impact the actions we're willing to take. So if we believe that our teammates are brilliant, we are going to probably have warm, positive feelings, and we're going to be willing to go to them for support or ask for help or put our idea out there. If we think that our teammates are out to get us, then we are going to feel fear. We're going to feel scared, and we're going to not speak up in that meeting. So our thoughts, our beliefs about ourselves, about others, about the world have a huge impact on what we're willing to do in the world. So I will double down on that making total sense, Doug.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm not crazy.
No,
you are practicing.
You might still be crazy, but
who among us has never said to ourselves a version of like, you've got this right before a big moment?
No.
That's all you're doing. You're just practicing it ahead of time.
question for you guys. When you start working with teams, I can suspect some people are not so interested in playing at work, doing improv, right? Even us, when they hear you use tacos for what, they think that's ridiculous. Why would I even do it? What are some main things that people object to? And how do you overcome those objections to help people maybe get in a more playful state?
Looking silly is probably a big objection. I've been told by someone in an improv workshop I was running last year, this just doesn't seem like a good use of my time. Okay, let's see if I can convince you otherwise. I've got real work to do. I don't have time to come here and, get into my feelings and play games. That's ridiculous.
Yep, those are the tough objections. There's all kinds of things. I mean, I think we structure our programs so that it's this gradual ramp. We don't throw people in and say, let's do the most embarrassing, silly, goofy thing possible. We start small, maybe like a game like 5 Things, where it's kind of very adjacent to getting to know you type games that you might play, and we'll build you up. Or let's pass a clap around the circle, where everybody's trying to pass a clap and people are trying to clap at the same time. I think the first thing we do off the bat when we do our workshops is that we ask people what are their objections, and we validate them. We say it makes total sense that the kind of division between work and play exists. It's kind of entrenched, or that you're concerned why this might be a waste of time. We've all been to workshops that were wastes of time that we left and we said, what did we get out of this? And so people come with all these experiences. So I think we validate them and say, I think this is a legitimate concern. Would you be willing to give this a try? Would you be willing to stay open and try it and see what happens? And so I think right off the bat, just kind of saying it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be skeptical. We're not here to tell you you're wrong. And I think that can diffuse a lot of tension right off the bat.
We don't come on strong, you're going to miss out on the greatest experience of your life if you don't do this. I don't think we say this, but I think that objecting to time spent doing this is pretty similar to saying I don't have time to exercise. I'm too busy and I'm run down all the time. It's we never have time for the things that are actually going to make us feel better. And yet, if we start prioritizing those things, we will find time for much more stuff in our lives.
And if somebody's shown up, whether it's the virtual room or the real room or the physical room, kind of a lesson of improv is we can do things and feel stress, or we can do things with a mindset that helps us feel joy. So it's if somebody's already committed to being in that room, we believe that we have tools that can help them experience themselves and others with more confidence and ease and less stress, which they can then take out of that room.
You showed up, right? You clicked on the thing, you walked into the room, you might as well try it. Give us one activity and see if we can start to win you over. And I feel most often we do, because people, especially once people have that first laugh, that first connection moment, right? They're looking at their coworker, they're making eye contact, and somebody laughs about something. It's suddenly something has dissolved that was there before. before, and now there's this new kind of connection. And people don't get enough of that at work. They don't get enough of that in their lives. Like, we're a very disconnected, isolated society in many ways, despite seeing, on social media, like, we see each other, quote unquote, all the time, but we don't connect with each other very often. And I think once you get that first hit of connection, it's a pretty powerful drug.
Doug, does that remind you of giving a first taco?
It kind of does. Yeah.
That's what we think about with Hey Taco, is when you give the first message of gratitude. So it's kind of your non-metric, qualitative metric. You see, oh, someone laughed. That's a really good, like, it's a really good sign that they've opened up and they're here with us now, right? It's all up, it's all downhill from here, in a sense. What is some impact you've seen happen with people after your workshops and your sessions? Short-term or long-term impact? So things you've observed.
We run a leading with an improv mindset, which is a cohort based. So we do, it's group, but it's kind of individual leaders. It's not necessarily their team, but they go off to their team. One of the things that I think that I'm most kind of proud of that people can leave is a willingness to lean into difficult conversations, kind of like to have the hard conversation, whether it's with a direct report or a peer, their manager, but feeling like they have some tools and a framework to move that conversation forward productively, which I think is a kind of a surprising outcome of an improv workshop. But when we teach one of the core mindsets, which is yes and, a lot of people have the misconception that yes and means you need to be in rigorous, complete agreement with everything that somebody says, and it's going to get wacky and you're saying yes to everything and budget doesn't matter. And no, yes and is actually a really powerful framework to bring to hard situations when you are feeling stuck and cannot figure out how to move forward. So people feeling like they have a vision for how that conversation is going to go and the confidence to do so. So many workplace conflicts or inefficiencies. I feel like people can be willing to lean into those challenging conversations. It's such a game changer. So that's definitely my top outcome that I feel like we get from some of our deeper programs.
One example in particular that comes to mind for me is a participant in one of our workshops told us that like a week or so later, they had this big meeting they were going to go into, and they knew, I mean, it was like, a month before, they were like, I knew this meeting was going to be tough. I'd been kind of dreading it for weeks. And he said that he brought some of the exercises that we had been practicing into the meeting and actually made everyone like do an improv warm up with him at the top. And he was a little scared to do it. And he said immediately, not only did I feel better about the meeting, he's like, but I could see everyone start to kind of like drop a little bit of the armor that they had been coming in with and just kind of open themselves up a little bit more to kind of connecting and actually communicating with each other in the meeting. And it's not like it gives you, improv doesn't give you all the answers that you need, but it gives you this tool to sort of lower the defenses so we can actually start really talking to each other. And just hearing about that, he was like, I just felt better going into this thing that I'd been dreading, and it had an impact on the other attendees. That was really meaningful to me, because I think we've all been in that meeting, and that meeting sucks.
Yeah.
No one wants to be in that meeting.
I remember that example, and it was specifically two teams that had merged and they had different cultures. So it was like a culture clash. Like they had been having these meetings where it was just this total culture clash, which is so common. And like the lowering the defenses allowed people to kind of start to build the new culture of their unified team together.
And I mean, on a very like basic human level, what's the first thing that kids do when they first meet each other and they don't know each other yet at the playground is they will play together. And that's like one of the first ways we build connection with other human beings. And yet then we get to work and we're like, well, that's work. Play lives over here, work lives over here, and never the two shall meet. But when you blend them, pretty amazing things happen.
I love that. I also love the 5 categories. Is that what it's called? The 5 categories?
Things.
5 things. Can you arm me with another little simple exercise that I personally can take into the office and use with the team?
Oh, I was going to say, go for it, Jordan. I feel like this is a great yes and. Let's we've talked about it. I think we should do it.
Yes and. So we have exercise we like to do. It's called yes and party planning. All right. So you and Una are going to be a team. Should we start them with yes but, Sarah, and then move on to the yes and?
Yes.
So you two are going to be a team, and your job today is to plan a party. You've got a couple minutes to plan a party together. And it's going to start with one of you is just going to throw out an idea. So for example, let's have balloons. And after that, every single line that each of you say back and forth has to begin with the words yes, and just go from there. So,
And you will stop us?
I will stop you.
Okay.
All right, take it away, party planners.
Doug, you start. You have lavish ideas for
Okay,
parties.
we need a location.
But what if people don't want to do it in person?
Then
Yes, but.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, but in person is going to be much more fun.
Yes, but it's work. No one really cares about fun. People just want to do their job.
Yes, but it's going to be so beautiful outside that everyone's going to want to come outside and see the sun and feel the sun.
Yes, but what if it rains?
Yes, but we will plan it the day before so we know it's going to be a sunny, beautiful day.
Yes, but we might not want to drive that far.
Yes, but I have built a time machine that can take you to the location. It will come pick you up and you will be there within 35 milliseconds.
Yes, but I get sick in cars when they drive too fast.
And scene. All right, let's call it there. How'd that feel?
Negative.
Negative.
There was no party
There's no
planned.
party.
Like, I'm not invited to anything.
Yeah, because it was you were yes butting me the whole time.
Yeah. Even building a time machine did not fix your
No.
party problems.
I just couldn't get through.
Let's try it again, but this time we're just going to swap out one word, and you're going to say yes and after each line, and let's see where this party takes you. All right, Doug, you want to throw out that first line again?
I sure will. First, we need a location.
Yes, and we have to make sure it's the coolest location ever.
Yes, and we need balloons.
Yes, and we need a cake.
Yes, and we need to have a taco bar.
Yes, and we need chips and salsa to go with it.
I agree. And yes, and I think we need some music, so I'm going to have to invite my friend's mariachi band.
Yes, and they need to wear sombreros.
Yes, and I'm sure that's going to be an HR violation.
Yes, and we don't have HR.
And scene. That was only 40
Oh,
seconds.
I loved it.
Oh, we got. Yeah, how'd that feel?
Frisky
Risky. Una,
by the end.
A lot more energizing. It's like you see the possibilities versus the downsides of everything.
Oh, I love that.
But it does feel okay. This is what I do have a question for you that is more of this, I guess, technical nature. It does feel like when you're in the game that you're saying yes to every crazy idea. How do you play yes and? How do you do not even play? How do you do yes and in the real world without saying yes? We need to have tons of drinks for free, unlimited, right? Something that you're like, this might not be the greatest idea.
I'll start by saying we yes, but in the real world all the time without worrying about the consequence of that. And when we say but to each other, what we're really saying is everything you just said doesn't really matter. Here's something new for you to think about instead. And that really does not feel great to get yes but. I mean, how did you felt it? I think the two of you when you were yes butting each other. I could see it on your faces. You did not look really pleased. So the yes in a yes and in the real world does not mean yes, we have an unlimited budget for drinks at our party. It means yes, I'm hearing that it's really important to you that we have a good bar set up at our party, and we want clowns and we want balloons. Let's take a look at the budget together and see what we can do. But I'm hearing your priority, right?
Yeah.
The yes is really an acknowledgement, a validation. It's saying, I actually hear the request behind the request. It's a little bit deeper so that you can then feel heard, which allows us both to move forward.
I see your enthusiasm. I see your creativity. I see the innovation you want to apply to this. How do we hone that and move forward with the constraints that we do have? Can we do that together? It's a completely different way of being rather than a yes, but is essentially a no.
Or we disguise it. We disguise it as yes, but.
Totally.
I think for our next sprint planning, we need to use the yes and framework.
I agree. One other thing I was hearing as you two were explaining it is, or my insight is, yes, but clearly doesn't work. So why not try yes and, right? I feel like we're scared to try yes and because, it might mean I'm saying yes to everything, but yes, but doesn't really yield any interesting results anyways, right? Nothing good came out of yes, but usually.
Like you were saying, when a yes, but keeps the focus on the constraints and what we can't do. Yes, and shifts the focus to what would we really love to do and what can we do with what we have. I mean, we're swapping 3 letters and it's an amazingly powerful mindset shift. When you are the person who brings yes and into a meeting, into a space, into a group, you will, I think, be amazed as when you see kind of the change that starts to ripple through people as they feel the effect of what you're doing, even if they don't know what you're doing.
Because a lot of conflict ends up being people restating the same point over and over because they don't feel heard. They don't feel like they've even been acknowledged for what they've said. And that's what kind of happened, right? We don't know whether it's a virtual or in-person party in that first party because we never landed anywhere.
Yes and is also a powerful relationship tool, especially if you're married to another improviser like I am. We will have moments where one of us will say, like, I need you to yes and me right now. Or, like, you're not yes and me. And it's a great shorthand of like, right, let me go back, acknowledge, validate, really see what the other person needs here and see how I can try to build with it.
And you said changing the 3 words reminds me of, Sarah, your point earlier where the thoughts that shape your emotions and actions. And even before your thoughts, the words you use shape your thoughts and shape your emotions, shape your actions, 100%. Right? So even just with yes and, you're practicing of directing your thoughts into a more productive space.
It's a collaborative, co-creating, constructive mindset, right? It's a possibility forward one for sure. I love that.
That's awesome. I really love this. I'm going to move on to practicing some gratitude. As most of our listeners know, this podcast is a Hey Taco podcast. And with Hey Taco, everyone has 5 tacos that they can give daily to recognize someone for something they've done or to simply to show their appreciation. Jordan, who are you giving your 5 tacos to today and why?
Well, this might be too obvious, but I'm going to give them to Sarah for being on this podcast with me, because this is something I don't know if, a couple of years ago, I would have had the confidence to go out and do on my own. I like to talk, but I like to talk about this in particular, and I like to talk about improv stuff in particular with Sarah. And the fact that we have been able to build this partnership together is really meaningful to me. And it is another relationship in my life where I get to use the language and the concepts of improv like in everyday work. And that feels really great. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to steal a bonus taco and give it to our hosts for having us.
That's great. Sarah, who are you giving your 5 tacos to today and why?
And can the tacos be divided up?
Absolutely.
I would like to give, and one taco, it has infinite meaning, right? So Jordan, you get my first taco. Because Jordan, the partnership that Jordan and I have, it is the most yes and professional partnership I have in my life. And it's so life-giving and energy-giving. So thank you, Jordan, for that. Una, I would like to give you my second taco just for your, the connections that you were making between things that we said earlier. I've forgotten what I said 30 minutes ago, but you were like, no, you said this thing and it really connects brilliantly. And I just really appreciate how you made those connections and made me and Jordan look brilliant. So thank you. Very grateful for you. Doug, I would like to present you with this third taco. Your energy is absolutely contagious and it's infected in the most positive way in this little ensemble that we made throughout this time. So thank you for that. I think my 4th taco goes to myself. Can you self-give tacos?
In this podcast, yes.
Yay. 2 years ago, I was terrified to go on podcasts, and I'm just grateful for the learning and growth and, the support of Jordan and that. So I'm going to give a 4th taco to myself. And then the 5th taco is to tacos. I think that they're an excellent form factor for food, for taking anything, be it a Greek taco or otherwise. So just really grateful for tacos.
I love that. Well, thank you both for coming on the podcast. Thank you both for playing these fun games and making me laugh. I love laughter. I think any opportunity we have in life to laugh, we have to go after that. And so thank you both for bringing that opportunity to us. And thank you for having the opportunity to laugh with you. So thanks again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for listening. One of the important things about building a team is gratitude. If you're looking to add more gratitude into your team, check out heytaco.com. We are clearly biased, but it really does work. Use the code AMAZINGTEAMS to receive 15% off for the first 3 months of your subscription.